Hey guys, it's Tom Box here. Welcome to MST.TV, and this is the video of Full Set Analysis Flames of Destruction Edition. Now, this version is a little bit different compared to our previous set analysis. I'm splitting this video up into 3 parts, so it's easier on me to edit this stuff. Before, it was a 1-hour block, and it was just really massive. Don't want to kind of put you guys through that again, so I'm splitting it off into 3 different chunks, so it's easier for you guys to find it, and well, I could actually talk in details without going way too crazy. Now, for this first part, it's going to be all the hype cards and secret rares, everything you need to know when you buy these packs. And if you pull these cards, it kind of explains where their value is coming from. So this is part 1. I'll go into more detail with these cards, these particular set of cards, than most of the other video. As for part 2, I have all the new archetypes and major supports, the supports that have major impact towards the game. Perhaps it's going to shift the metagame a bit. And as for part 3, we have the underrated cards, some of the more gimmicky cards, some of the more fun cards, and everything else in between, and all the other decks are getting minor support, so they're getting a bit of an archetype update. Just 1 or 2 cards here and there, but they're not really changing all too much, and that will be in part 3. Especially for casual players, you definitely want to pay attention to that segment as well. Before I get into this segment, I just want to let you guys know that making these segments are very difficult. It takes a super long amount of time, basically blew away my entire weekend. If you guys want to show your support, there is a Patreon link down in the description below. If you support me on my Patreon, become my Patreon Bros. Well, I appreciate all of you guys for one thing, and you guys of course get early access to a lot of the secret stuff that I work behind the scenes. And of course you get first access to proxies. But if you want to show your support, I really love all of you guys, truly. Anyways, let's get to this segment here. Okay guys, so I'm going to turn my head over this way so that I'm facing my monitor. So starting off with the list of secrets, we have the cover card, of course. We have Topologic Trisbana. We have Infinite Impermanence, Ghost Spell, and Haunted Mansion, our new Ghost Girl. We have Nightmare Griffin, a new Floodgate-esque monster if you think about it. We also have Vampire Sucker. We have Super Team Buddy Force Unite. This card is kind of an interesting throw-in, but it is a TCG exclusive. We also have Nightmare Corruptor Ibli. Last but not least, we have Nightmare Unicorn, finally revealed at the end because it was the last one to be revealed on Italian Yu-Gi-Oh! If you guys don't know them, check them out. Now we're going to go into the juicy bits here, which would be the price points and the effects of these monsters that lead to those expensive price points. Now, the price points are estimations, okay guys, so it could be wrong, could go up or down depending if the meta shifts or not, but right now the estimation is based off of OCG performance, how often they're played, and how frequently that they're played in, I guess, top tier events or top tier decks. So based on that, gives us an entry point, but the settling point will be a bit different, and usually that's harder to predict because TCG, I guess we haven't really engaged into this meta yet, so it's hard to tell. So take it with a grain of salt. To kick things off, Topologic Trisbana, price point wise, around $20 to $25. I would acquire her around that price, and then if it settles, I think it'll settle around like 15 to 20. It's a mid-range secret rare card. It is good. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's almost like an additional choice that you have for your Link 3s. But then the effect, of course, similar to most of the other Topologic cards, if you do special summon onto these zones that it points to, it will trigger an effect that usually has some sort of massive advantage gaining for you. Now in this case, you banish the monster that got summoned onto the zone. On top of that, banish as many spells and traps on the field as possible. If you do, inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each of their cards banished by this effect. So it lays out a landmine, and it also wipes the back row. If you can do this during the end phase, it is the most profitable because you can use it as like an end phase heavy storm. And since it banishes all the spells and traps, you're not gonna have to worry about the cards like Artifact Sanctum and all those other really annoying grave trigger traps. But overall, it's a very good utility card, but not exactly a full-on boss material. It's not like a floodgate that shuts people out. It's just there. It has no form of protection, and that's why it's a utility card, and it's a good toolbox to have in your extra deck. The next card is Infinite Transience, or now known as Infinite Impermanence. This is the chase card of the set, don't get me wrong, but in terms of price range, I don't think it's going to be as high as people predicted. I'm predicting it's going to be around 50 to 60 at sneak, and then settle around 50 to 60. The main reason for that is when I compare it with other secret rare trap cards such as Dimensional Barrier when it was released and compared to Evenly Matched, there's a huge difference in terms of impact on the board. Infinite Transience is like an effect veiler that's buffed. You can use it during either player's turn, so it's really good. It's a really well designed card. compared to D-Barrier, where D-Barrier can actually just skip your opponent's turn if they are playing a specific type of cards, or evenly matched, just put them 1 foot down the grave because they committed too much onto the board. This one is just negate an effect and perhaps stun a back row. It is a very well designed card that you can use both going first and second, which is really awesome, and potentially put more threats against your opponent by setting it onto the field because they don't know what you have. Maybe it's a torrential, so you know there's that unknown factor to be added on this. But compared to the impact of those other cards, I would say it's just not as high. That's why and I'm not even sure if people play these in the full play sets compared to D-Barrier, which most people would play a full play set. Evenly matched players, they put a full play set because they want to see it, they want to use it because it lets them win. Whereas this one, perhaps you could actually get your combos to go through a bit more smoothly, perhaps interrupt your opponent when they're really trying to go off. So not as high as I would expect, but that's just my guess on it. So around 50 to 60. I think people run like 2 copies or sometimes just even 1 copy. So in terms of demand, I'm not even too sure where that demand actually settles at the moment. Next up, we have our Ghost Girl of the year. We have the Ghost Belle and Haunted Mansion. Price range wise, much lower compared to the sisters. She's at $30 to $35, and that's actually on the high end of estimation if she's that collectible. Well, if someone wants pages and pages of her, then yeah, sell it at that price. Mainly because she's not looking too good upon release. Unlike the other sisters, when they were released, they were pretty hyped up. Even Ghost Reaper, which is like a more situational card now, was still very high upon release because she can take out cards like ABC Bet, Dragon Buster, and that had high impact on the game. Whereas she's coming in kind of low impact, and there's already a card that does a very good job, such as Called by the Grave, which can stop hand traps, banish stuff out of the graveyard. Overall, very useful. Whereas she just prevents the movement of cards out of the graveyard. So she's more like a Necro Valley, the hand trap. So, but don't feel bad if you do pull her. You can sell her off. Of course, you can also just hold on to it until she becomes relevant in the format where perhaps grave manipulation is a really big thing. Now this next card is one card I'm super excited for, and I believe this is the second most expensive card of this entire set. It's Nightmare Griffin. Nightmare Griffin is quite the monster, being a Floodgate-esque boss monster that is a generic Link 4 monster. Price range wise, $30 to $40, and it's going to be seen in almost everyone's extra deck. So it's very likely that this card is going to be quite up there. And what does it do? What is its main effect? Why is it so good? Well, being a Floodgate-esque monster, the main effect is that when it's on the field, special summon monsters cannot activate their effects unless they are linked. Unless you're playing links, you're pretty screwed. Which is a big middle finger to all the non-link playing decks. So in other words, it's really just forcing you to shift into that gear. And also, on top of that, when you do link summon this card, you get to discard a card and reset one of your spells in your graveyard, spell or trap, I believe, in your graveyard, and set it onto the field. You just can't activate it this turn, which is okay. But if you get a quick play spell like World Legacy Inheritor, during your opponent's turn, you get to actually revive another monster, which is a huge plus. And of course, if this card's co-link, you get to draw when you ditch your card. So overall, this is a very important monster. It's going to have huge impact in the game coming up. So being like a 2 monster recipe, it's just very easy to actually just link up into making that, especially when you also have Nightmare Corruptor Ibli, which I'll go into after this next card. Alright, zombie players, you guys get a nice generic link monsters. Well, I guess it's not really generic when it's like specifically to a zombie type. You guys get a zombie type link monster called Vampire Sucker. Price range wise, it's going to be about $15 to $20. Right now, it's actually not very high, and perhaps it's even going to stoop even lower. Perhaps this is probably one of those cards you don't want to pull as your secret. Actually, no, there's probably worse choices from what I can see, but this is actually a decent card around like the mid-range of 15 to 20 bucks right now because there's no zombie deck super rampant, which is why you should always hold on to that card like this until a zombie deck does become very relevant. Now, she carries very funny effects, and to some degree it's kind of busted depending if we get a tribute summon based zombie deck, because it could mean your opponent's gonna get completely wrecked. But anyways, regarding this card, it requires 2 zombie monsters to make with 1600 attack, link 2 arrows pointing to the bottom left and right corner. If you were tribute a monster for a tribute summon, you can tribute a zombie monster your opponent controls as if you controlled it. And what? That's actually not once per turn. So if you can somehow blend it with like double summon or something like that, maybe like a DNA surgery plus a I guess the true Drago cards, maybe. Just saying, you can actually wipe your opponent's entire board using, tribute summoning conditions and mechanics. But on top of that, she also has 2 other effects, which is basically like a pseudo version of Card of Safe Return. She revives a zombie from your opponent's graveyard, special summon it. Sorry, she revives a monster out of your opponent's graveyard and turns it into a zombie. And then if a zombie monster is special summoned onto the field, you can draw 1 card. There's a better, accurate description of that. So overall, she's just a decent zombie monster in general that gives you some form of utility. But depending on the deck that synergizes with her, her effects can be quite busted. This next card here is a TCG exclusive, Super Team Buddy Force Unite. So I believe the price range of this card is going to be at sneak $10 to $15 at most. But then depending on how it settles, if it breaks a certain deck, then I would say it would go up to like $20 a copy, which is very unlikely. I see it going down to $5 a copy more than anything. Why do I see it like that? It's because it is a trap card. It is a bit too slow. If this was a quick play spell, I can argue that this could have been one of the most expensive chase secrets, but it is not. So there you go. But in terms of the effect, target 1 face-up monster on the field, special summon 1 monster from your hand or graveyard with the same original type as that target but with a different name. Here's the thing, so I guess you can use this like a Monster Reborn, and it's pretty decent in a mirror match. And ABCs can definitely abuse this. If ABCs push this over the top, then we'll have an issue. It's kind of like if you use this against like Zodiacs. I mean, this would have been a pretty decent card in Zodiacs too. If this card in your spell and trap zone is destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can set another copy of this from the deck. So that's pretty good. It's pretty sticky. In other words, it's pretty difficult to get rid of unless you use Cosmic Cyclone. But overall, I don't see too much impact. Maybe you guys can share in the comment down below. How would you actually use Super Team Buddy Force Unite? Yeah, I really don't know the complete applications of this card just yet. Okay, so 2 more secrets to go. We have Nightmare Corruptor Ibli. Now, she's part of the World Legacy series. Of course, she is Ib, but now she's different. Now she's corrupted. In terms of price points, she's a waifu card, and I really don't know how to actually pinpoint the price of this card. Some people use it, some people don't, and I guess she fits into like decks that do play links. I'm guessing she's around like $15 to $20, just mid-range for me, because I can't really throw a price point on this. If you pull this, congratulations. She can be very useful in the future depending on how the format goes, but knowing how nightmares are super relevant, nightmares are just basically a toolbox of link monsters that generate advantage through their effects. And she's also one of the best monsters here, because when this card is normal summon, you can target 1 link monster in your graveyard, special summon it to your zone linked to this card. In other words, it has to point to Ibli. But it has its effect changed to 0, and also it has its effects negated. You cannot special summon monsters except link monsters, so while this card is on the field, you can't summon anything but links, which is okay. If this card you control is sent to your graveyard, you can special summon this card to your opponent's side of the field in defense mode. So she doesn't have any stats, she's 0/0, but remember, if you do give this to your opponent, it limits them down to just using link summon for the first summon. So if they're really reliant on like a special summon, like a ritual summon, they have to get rid of this card first. In other words, they have to link it off first. Being a level 2 is a little harder to link off. You can't use Rushka, you can't use Link Karibo, you can't use Link Spider. In other words, you have to drop another monster to commit to link it away, so that's the unfortunate part. But overall, since you can revive any form of link monster, you can actually revive your higher link monster to go straight into like the Griffin, the Nightmare Griffin. So if you have link 3, easy peasy lemon squeezy right there. But yeah, overall, I think she's very powerful, and I think she has a place in the deck somewhere. The Nightmare Unicorn, this is a card that was revealed last, that's why it's last on this list. So, price point wise, it's going to be a $20 to $25 secret, perhaps higher actually, because this is a very generic toolbox monster you probably want in your extra deck. Why? Because upon link summoning this card, you get to discard 1 card from your hand, and then you get to spin away one of your opponent's monster. Now, discarding is not too bad. Of course, if this card is co-link, you get to draw a card to replace the card you lost, so giving you a free +1. Now, on top of that, it does carry another effect, which is if this card's co-linked with other nightmare monsters, instead of conducting your normal draw, you get to draw for the co-links available on the field. So yeah, there's a kind of a fun thing here. I might be describing the effect a bit incorrectly because I actually don't know how to resolve this properly just yet, but this is a very powerful card. It does have a 22 body, and being able to spin away cards, this makes it so that in future, Brandish Maiden will go into this card as a way to remove a monster and then put out another boss monster on top of that. So that's actually a very awesome card. You're gonna see this card everywhere, so just be careful, guys. If you do pull it, congratulations, this is a really good pull for you. As for two other hype cards are really good and one kind of personal card here, we have Red Reboot, Altergeist Multifaker, and Madolche Fresh to Start. Okay, so starting with Red Reboot, this card, I believe everyone should be getting like a playset for their side deck collection or even their side deck, depending if like you really hate traps. And this is a hand trap counter trap. I don't really need to talk about the price point because it's a super rare, but worst case scenario, it hits $3 to $5. Hopefully it does not become a Twin Twister situation, because Twin Twister was a bit different. The demand for Twin Twister was a lot more. This one, of course, more format dependent and a bit more situational compared to Twin Twister. Reading this card effect, when your opponent activates a trap card, negate the activation, and if you do, set that card face down. Then your opponent can set one trap directly from their deck, and for the rest of the turn, after this card resolves, your opponent cannot activate trap cards. You can activate this card from your hand by paying half your life. That's the line that makes this card so damn good. It is on top of being like a trap stun. It can be activated from your hand. Although your opponent gets to get an additional trap on top of the trap they did not lose, what you can do is go into main phase 2 and kind of bust it. And this is spell speed 3, so you can stop Solemn Judgment, Solemn Warning, Solemn Brigade, Solemn Strike, and evenly matched from your hand. You don't have to commit to it. That's the best part. You can surprise, keep it in your hand. What are they going to do about it? So this can protect your entire board. And if you're paying half your life to basically make your opponent go into the battle phase, go to the end of the battle phase and try to play through a main phase 2, I think I'm okay with that. But the only problem is if they do it during the main phase 2, they get additional traps, and that's something I don't like. But even evenly matched isn't as good the moment they put a second card out, because now they leave 2 cards on the field, and that's actually okay, and you have a full turn to deal with that evenly matched, which makes this one of the best counters to evenly matched. The next card we have Altergeist Multifaker. Although this is an archetype specific, and I'll talk about this card again in the next part, which is the major supports. This card is the linchpin piece that's missing in Altergeist. Altergeist is lacking a lot of summoning, and this card carries them all, and that's why it's really good. So Multifaker, price range wise, $10 to $20 as an ultra rare. Yeah, good luck getting this card because it is a 3-of in the deck, and it is also one of the most powerful cards to get all their combos going. Card effect wise, if you activate a trap card, you can special summon this card from your hand. So it has its own special summon effect, and on top of that, if this card is special summon, you can special summon one Altergeist monster from your deck in defense position. The effects are still live and usually get Selkie dust, so you get a compulsory on your opponent's side. You get to bounce a face-up card back to the hand, which is really good. And if you have Protocol on the field now, guess what? None of your effects can be negated. The one thing that makes Altergeist really annoying is that nothing can be negated once Protocol is live and you have a once per turn Divine Wrath. And you can recycle your traps. Like manipulation can actually act as a Call of the Haunted and revive stuff. And you have a search engine, you have a way to search all your stuff out, which makes Multifaker just that much better. Okay, but you know, there is a condition with all this. You cannot special summon monsters except for Altergeist monsters the turn you activate this effect, and you can only use each effect of Altergeist Multifaker once per turn, which is fine. A balancing factor. If it wasn't once per turn, this card would be the nuts. I'd be like bouncing this card back just so I can spam another card back onto the field, to be honest. But that's just me. But yeah, this is one amazing card that you should look out for. If you do pull it, don't undersell it. That's what I'm just trying to give you guys advice for. And as for the last card here, we have Madolche Fresh to Start. Why do I want this card? Here's a fun fact about myself. I managed to get my fiance into playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Many years ago through Madolche, and she really likes all these cards. I just want to collect a bunch of them. That's just my preference. But overall, let's actually talk about the effect. It's a common, so don't worry about how to actually acquire this card. So it requires 2 Madolche monsters, which is kind of neat. You have to put 2 Madolches into the graveyard. While this card points to a Madolche monster, spells and traps. Okay, Madolche spells and traps you control cannot be destroyed by card effects, and neither players can target them, giving you your field spell safety and giving your I guess, your ticket safety as well. That's actually pretty neat. That's not bad. And if this card on the field would be destroyed by battle card effect, you can shuffle one Madolche monster from your graveyard back into the deck instead. And then since you're using an effect to do so, you will actually trigger off Ticket. And because she's a fairy, and if you have Ticket, you'll be special summoning more cards out from the deck, which is awesome. So you can keep things pointed to her. And if you can keep the field spell up, she will be actually at 2k rather than at 15, which could be a force to be recommended. It's a quarter of life of your total life anyways from 8,000, so it is quite, she can be quite deadly. That's what I'm just trying to get at. But for me, I'm just gonna collect 100 of these and just probably make a 3D card, kind of like this MST that I have that's also nice in 3D. Anyways, that's just a little fun fact. All right, let's just go on to, if you guys enjoyed this video, hit me up with a thumbs up. If you guys want to see the next part, don't forget to subscribe to MST.TV, where we're going to cover the new archetypes. We're going to learn about every single card of these new archetypes. I'm only going to cover 3 of them and 1 with a major support. And as always, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please drop us a like so we know we are doing a good job. And you can also subscribe to MST.TV for more fantastic videos by clicking on the button on the left. Don't forget to check out our partners at Imperium Duelist. They make really high quality mats, including some of my own limited edition release stuff. And if you want to check out one of our past videos, click here on the right. As always, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV, and I'll see you next time.